Hey, Guy Powell here, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. If you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. I am embarking on writing a new book, and it's called The AI Marketing Machine, and hopefully it'll be out in the next few months. I am in the process of gathering materials and doing some rough drafts and things like that, and certainly going to be using AI to help with the content. But in any case, I'll tell you more about that as we move on. But today I'm interviewing Jose Florido of Freepik, and he is the Chief Market Development Officer there at Freepik and has a background in product design from Google, Facebook, Spotify. And he joined Freepik for its customer-first approach. He manages the U.S. market adaptation, brand awareness, and the growth of SlidesGo, which is particularly used in education. And Florido is, of course, dedicated to creating products that foster creativity. What a great thing. What a great background. Welcome, Jose. So good to have you.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me. Very excited to talk to you today, Guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Jose, before we get started, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in AI and marketing.
I've been my whole career, right? I've been working in product design, a little bit related to the advertising market, but always from the UX, right? User experience point of view, especially at Spotify. I work on the advertising platform. So I work with a lot of marketing agencies, right, that are using the platform. So that's how I became more and more involved with marketing. And about AI, so I think like everybody else, I knew a little bit about AI a few years ago, but never really expected the current revolution we are in, right? So it was like 2 years ago, right after I joined, or 2.5 years ago, right after I joined Freepik, when we really saw the change. At the time, it was like DALI 2 came out, right, from OpenAI. And Freepik is a stock image platform, right? So we've been doing assets and images for creatives, right, for many, many years. So when we saw the advent of image generation through AI, we were like mind blown, right? Like, okay, this is gonna disrupt our industry. And that the whole team, we all became very aware that we needed to started to work in a way more technical situation where now creativity is super important, but also understanding the new technology paradigm, it's going to be super important. So that's when I really went all into AI, right? So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, and it makes a lot of sense. And so you're one of the early movers on it. We were more on the analytic AI side, and only recently now, obviously, with OpenAI and some of the other ones, Claude and what have you, getting into more the generative AI. And man, oh man, what a thing that's going on. But before we go any further, tell us about Freepik and tell us about SlideGo.
Yeah, so as I said, Freepik is a platform for creatives, graphic designers, video creators, and everybody with a creative need. And since 2 years ago, we transformed the company from a stock marketplace where you could find assets to a powerful suite of AI tools where you actually generate and design your own assets, right, using AI. We've been in the market 14 years. Right now, we are like 500 people. We passed the $100 million revenue mark last year, growing very fast and fully focused on AI for creatives and agencies. Right now, for 2025, our focus is mostly on professional use cases. So professional designers, professional videographers, architects, game developers, everybody working on the creative industries. And in the case of SlidesGo is a kind of a sister company or sister project of Freepik, where we focus on creating presentations, right? So basically PowerPoint presentations, but powered by AI. So basically you can go to slidesgo.com, give us an input. It could be a video, a document, a PDF, an existing presentation, right? And then we will analyze the content, try to guess your intent, right, with AI, and then rewrite your content, improve it, complete all the content about the topic, include some generated images, even generated videos, and output a beautiful presentation with perfect design, right? So we are mixing obviously the power of LLMs, right, and generative AI with our whole catalog of professional templates, right? We own more than 30,000 professional templates for presentations, and we are gonna select and mix your content with the best design and give you a PPTX ready to use presentation that is kind of the best possible draft with a very high quality level graphic design, right? So it's ready for you to review and go and present, right? So
Hmm.
that's Slide.
Yeah, very interesting. Wow. And I think about all of the presentations that I do all the time. It's it could be very helpful. So I'm definitely gonna check
Nice.
it out. So now 2024 seemed to be the year of generative AI, at least. So what were some of the big trends that you saw? What are some of the things that really kind of popped out?
Yeah, no, it's been definitely a huge, very fast moving revolution, right? So 2024 was a crazy speed, weekly tools coming out. So yeah, the cadence of evolution is amazing. Some of the trends, I would say getting used to at that new speed of innovation, right? That was obviously something we all went through. And also I think the very strong trend is the need to learn, kind of an they need to get up to speed with all the new tools and all the workflows. So learning, training, retraining the workforce, that's being a very important trend. And I think the last one I would like to point out is also a strong need to involve AI into your creative process, right? So every team out there is thinking, how should we use AI? In which stage of the creative process? Is this a brainstorming tool? Is this ready for the final product? So that's going to continue, right, from now on. But I think that's been the most interesting trend, is adoption and deciding how to adopt it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. And I think you're right. It's such a valuable tool for creative, but where do you actually plug it in, and how do you generate the prompts that are really the right prompts to get you where you want to go? So that makes a lot of sense. So what do you see going on for 2025? What are some of the big things that'll hit us this year?
Yeah, I think obviously we're going to continue right with the same trends. I think training and learning about. Probably there is a lot of professionals that are not still riding this wave. So more and more people are going to keep coming into AI, into the train. But I think to me the two biggest largest trends are going to be video. So video is going to become production ready, right? So we've seen a lot of new models coming in the last few months. Like even weekly, we see like Kling 1.5, then Kling 1.6, Video 2 from Google, and Sora, and all of them are coming like weekly, right? So, but they are not ready yet, but they are gonna get ready very, very soon to do production ready final work. So that's gonna be a huge trend for marketers and creatives in general. And I said the other big trend is going to be control, right? The increased control of the creative tools. So you are going to be able to, by prompting and by other fine-tune mechanisms, you're going to be able to get the output that you really need for your needs, right? So for your projects. So that's going to be a huge thing.
Yeah, interesting. And we talked about control a little bit. One of the big challenges I think for a marketing team too is to make sure that the voice and the color and everything follows the brand guidelines.
Yeah.
You have these critical, you spend a lot of time developing brand guidelines, and you want to make sure that that voice that's in there, and the audio, the video, the creative, the imagery, the text, and it all finds that, follows that. And I think that's going to be definitely today, even, one of the challenges. And I think, as we hopefully train our models that they'll get better at following those brand guidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we already have technology that is very promising, right? In following your brand guidelines, your colors, your typographies, right? Your even the characters, right? For your spots or your productions. And that's gonna get very, very improved earlier this year, right? So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, how do you see the role of the marketer changing and evolving? I can't imagine it's going to stay the same. And and I think a lot of marketers are, especially on the text and the creative writing side, they're definitely trying to stay ahead of the curve and be better than the generative, than Gen AI. So, how do you see them that role evolving?
Yeah, I think marketers they are gonna be empowered, right, by all these new tools. So I think I can see how they are moving to a little bit higher level to be more strategic, right, and thinking more about the business outcomes and the strategy, right? Because production is gonna get a little bit cheaper, right? So you're gonna be able to do more with your budget, right? So I think that's gonna be a change. And then the second change, it may affect also agencies, right? The balance between how you budget for an agency versus your in-house team, right? That's going to be also redefined. So you're going to be able to do more with a small in-house team, right? And then maybe dedicate your budget for larger productions that maybe before you were not able to reach, right? And now because of the reduction of costs, you can afford them, right? So it's going to be a big switch there in how we spend our budgets, right?
Mm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the relationship, to your point, I think the relationship between the agency and the marketer is going to change heavily. Certainly, we can now generate more. And, that's good and bad news. I mean, personally, prior to AI, I thought there was already too much content that was being generated. And now we're going to be able to do more. But I think, though, more doesn't necessarily mean more, so to speak. It means maybe more personalized. And so you're not necessarily sending 100 emails to the same person every day. You're sending one email, but that is highly personalized to that specific person, and being able to combine the analytics that you have in the back end and all the data that you have in the back end with the creative on the front end. So maybe I think that's where the real production is going to come from, and hopefully that'll lead to higher effectiveness and higher ROI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you said, more doesn't need to mean more in the sense of an amount, right? Could be also higher quality, higher personalization, customization, and going kind of deeper in because now we have new tools, right? So we can reach new heights, and let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So how are you gonna measure like a successful use case for generative AI? And what are your thoughts there?
I think that's something that is not really going to change, right? The way we measure ROI and the way we measure the effectiveness of our campaigns, that's going to continue being measured by the business outcome, right? So if you are able to achieve the same outcomes, right, that's going to be the same way we're going to measure things. So I think that's going to be some of the things that may stay the same, right? We're going to be always trying to reach our business goals, right? That could change that now we can be a little bit more ambitious, right? So now we can have more campaigns or larger campaigns, use different channels that allow us to have larger reach. But the way we will measure it, I think, will always be business outcome related, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. And sales and profit and units or appointments or whatever it happens to be as the business outcome is definitely going to be there. And it's interesting being able though to actually tie the pre-Gen AI kind of marketing to the post-Gen AI marketing success. Certainly it's going to be sales, but does the ROI go up because now the effectiveness goes up, or the improved sales go up, or where is that? Where do you see that?
I absolutely believe the effectiveness is going to go up, right? So I think we are gonna be able to deliver our messages in richer formats, more personalized formats that can allow us to be more effective. And that will be the main driver of ROI going up for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. So, what are some of the things that marketers need to be careful about? What do they need to look for as as Gen AI really becomes commonplace in the industry?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that when we talk to agencies, right, and we do demos of our tools and we work with agencies that are using our tools, etc., their concern is normally about quality, right? Because it's very tempting to just click one button and say, oh, this looks good, right? So, but you need to keep an eye on the final quality, right? Because it's a little bit easier now, but that doesn't mean you can kind of be okay with whatever the AI gives you in a first attempt, right? So you are the driver, you are still on the decision-making seat for with these new tools. And yeah, it's your responsibility about the final quality, right? So quality would be kind of the number one. I think also being very like very aware of the ethical considerations that can arise with AI, right? Like how are we just because you can do certain things that couldn't be done before doesn't mean it's okay to do it, like impersonating or using the things that you don't own the rights or many many things that are possible now. You're gonna have like a famous superstar in your campaign. Now it's possible to do it. Is it okay to do it? That didn't change, right? So yeah, so ethical considerations are also going to be super important. I think we all need to be kind of trained about what can be done but shouldn't be done, right, from now on. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So one of the challenges that I've run into with some of the other interviews is who owns the final output, and especially if you're generating images, and it's leveraging images that you may or may not own. How do you know that the generated image is going to be fully licensed and ethical, and and everybody's kind of paid along the way for their contribution, so to speak?
yeah, I think that in the current landscape, we still don't have a clear regulation, right, to answer that question from a legal point of view. What we know is like a lot of professionals and studios are already using it, and we know some countries like Japan already regulated, and they said, yes, whatever you create with AI, you own the copyright, whatever model you use, right? That's kind of one side of the spectrum. Other countries like the European Union seems to be they try to be regulating, right? The it will depend on which model did you use, right? So for that there is also an array of models out there, right? So you can pick between models that have been trained with all the rights, so you can be certain that all the input that went into the model, the model creator has the copyright, they have all the model release agreements, they have everything, right? So whatever you create, you can be 100% sure that it's safe and you own the copyright of this. Other models, open source models, larger models, etc., they've been trained with everything that was out there on the internet,
Mm,
right? And even movies, right? So it's unclear now. Like, I think there's been a few cases in the US where the resolution was that yes, you can copyright this, right? But the model is kind of it's not clear if the model is legally
mm,
on the clear or not, right? So, and there's a few cases being that we are waiting to see how they get resolved, right? Like of larger companies suing model creators because of this, right? So I think we're gonna need to wait a couple of years. It also depends on what you are generating, right? So if you are generating something that is truly unique and the result is something that you created out of your imagination and doesn't really resemble any other prior uh, copyrighted work, I think that should be okay to claim copyright over it. But if you can also go into more gray areas, right, where you are kind of citing the work of other artists or creators, and then that's when where things can get very very messy. And I think maybe 2025 will have more clarity on that legal question for
yeah.
sure.
So do you think it's a kind of a court case that needs to be done, or is it a legal thing that needs to be passed, or is it a combination of both?
I think it's a combination, right? We know there is at least two large court cases, right? That one is Getty and Stable Diffusion, right? And they are litigating, and whatever comes out of that will be very, very important. But also there is incoming regulation, right, in different jurisdictions to see at some point. I feel like the original authors need to be, like at least recognize that their work is there. It all comes down to how do we understand that AI was trained, right? So if you understand that, if you kind of agree that AI learned like a human, right? Like, so then, oh yeah, I am a human. Whatever I see out in the world helps me to create
Hmm.
my personality, right? So, and then when I create something, it's all coming out, right? In some way or another. Or if you think like, no, AI was trained with an intention to replicate this original work, then those are two very
Hmm.
different understanding, right? So I think we need to come out of a very fundamental understanding of what do we understand for learning when we are talking about a machine, right? Like, or a model. So yeah, I think that's where what everything boils down to, right? So that understanding of what learning is.
Yeah, yeah, wow. Yeah, that's kind of fascinating. And I think to your point, it is going to be a combination of litigation and legislation, and which means it's a couple of years out yet. And I guess, the braver companies are going to take their chances, and the larger companies are going to just wait because they don't want to get sued. And as a litigator, you always want to go for the companies that have the money. So the bigger companies, they're not going to take the chances, I guess.
Well, we are seeing now very large companies, even the U.S. government, right? They are already doing work. For example, I know like recently the U.S. government hired Pentagram, right? A very famous New York-based design agency to produce a set of illustrations for one of their websites. And they openly admitted that they use AI and they explain the process. And I think it's a great use case, right? Because it's a very clearly original artwork where AI was used as an aid. And yeah, so we'll see. But I tend to see, I feel like the market is moving faster than regulation in this case. And we're already seeing great adoption, right? Even
Hmm.
people seems to be very kind of eager to get the benefits of this new technology, right? And yeah, so let's see. But it's going to be interesting
Yeah.
to follow.
Yeah, it really will be. It's always fascinating to see, first of all, how long it takes for the regulations or the litigation or the legislation or whatever it is, to catch up. But it's also fascinating to see how creative folks are. I mean, some of the stuff that's coming out with generative AI are just, absolutely amazing. So we're about out of time, but I did want to ask you one question. So, what do you see as what advice would you give a new and up and coming marketer as they're now getting into the industry and trying to compete against AI and trying to add value in the AI space?
Yeah, I think like to me that comes down to two things. One is stick to the fundamentals, right? So you still need to learn the fundamentals of communication, fundamentals of design, marketing, business, right? So that's never gonna change, right? So don't think, oh, I know how to use this new tool. No, you still need to understand the fundamentals. And then the second advice would be do not be afraid to be a little bit more technical. I think our profession is changing and we are going to need to understand a little bit more difficult concepts from a technical point of view, right? So that's going to give you an edge, right? So I see designers that are doing amazing use of tools like Comfy UI. They are super difficult to use tools, but because they took the time to train themselves into a little bit, even a little bit of coding or more technical tools, they are having an edge right now, right? So I think that's gonna give you a lot of power, right, in the coming years for sure.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, interesting. I think that makes a lot of sense. Is you definitely need to understand the basics. I'm a big fan of the four P's: product, price, place, and promotion. Can't go wrong with that, so to speak. and making sure that you really understand that. And then, but I think also you need to have a really good understanding of how to use the tools themselves. And then it's the application of the specific creative activity that you're trying to do that, that has to combine both of the fundamentals and then, of course, the tools that are available. Jose, so grateful to have you today. Really fantastic. Thank you so much for participating. So, where can people reach you, and where can they reach your firm and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, you can always go to freepik.com, and then you will find our AI tools for creatives there available. And you can always find me on X and at Jose Florido. Yeah, happy to talk more always about creativity and marketing. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. Well, Jose, thank you so much. And for the audience, definitely stay tuned for many other videos in this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. And if you'd like to, please go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. And there you'll find many other excerpts and some information on my upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine. Jose, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.